If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Whoop. Make me say, my. I done been around the world.
Yeah, I was made for this.
Player Performance with J.A. Cavalier.
Welcome, everybody, to Player Performance College Football Quarterfinals Edition. Man, oh man, we got a 4-game slate to break down with you. It was an excellent turnout, I think, for both of us in the first round with our takes. And we're going to bring you some more heaters in this show to talk about the 4 games that come up forward. I am Gunspick. That is Coach Rick joining me as always to talk a little college football. What's going on, my friend?
It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day for college football, of course. This playoff, it's awesome. But most people don't realize what's happening like behind the scenes. I'll give you a little update. I've got about 3 or 4 kids right now that will jump into the transfer portal on January 2nd. And probably 3 of them are going to end up at one Big Ten school. So like this kind of stuff's going on right now. Most people don't realize it because the portal doesn't open until January 2nd. And, tons of these schools that have already finished their bowl games and seasons are already, they're already looking ahead to next year. We are not, of course. We're looking forward to 4 quality games coming up starting tomorrow night and then 3 the next day, New Year's Day. So without further ado, as you like to say, let's giddy up.
Let's giddy up. I'm going to guess that team rhymes with Schmindiana is where most of the players are going to go, and knowing how Signetti loves to dip into the NIL.
Yep. Very possible. However, I can neither confirm nor deny.
And I wouldn't want you to on the show. That is, of course, my theory, my speculation, not Coach Rick's. But yeah, like Coach said, we're going to break down the top 4, actually the 4 quarterfinal games from top to bottom from tomorrow night to all day on Thursday. So without further ado, let's get to the first game on the board, and we're going to be going to the Cotton Bowl, where we're going to have an electric matchup between the Miami Hurricanes going against the reigning national champions, Ohio State, in Arlington, Texas. This is going to be a 7:30 p.m. kick on Wednesday. So as you're watching this show, you're probably watching it on Wednesday morning. Please get in on this bet today. Don't wait on it. We have Ohio State coming off that loss in the Big Ten championship. Of course, Miami narrowly winning on the road against Texas A&M. But I'll pass it to you, Coach Rick. What are your thoughts? Miami versus Ohio State.
Yeah, Miami's the first really big underdog to win a game in this expanded playoff, which I thought was interesting. But really, this game, really the narrative surrounds pretty much one thing, and that's just defense. These are 2 of the best in the country. I'm a huge fan of Corey Heatherman, who's the defensive coordinator at Miami. And this is, again, I look at these games and probably different than most guys do. But, Miami's defense is really, really good. And the way they play, it's kind of the modern version of, today's defense. You have 2 or 3 big defensive linemen, and everybody else that's on the field is a hybrid athlete, and they're interchangeable. Heatherman believes in kind of, positionless defense, which, you've probably heard that related to basketball. But, he's got guys that are safeties that can play in the box. He's got guys that can play in the box, but they can go out and play nickel and cover a wide receiver in a slot. So I say all that because Miami's very good defensively, but I think Ohio State's better. So if you look at any, I don't know, I use an app called Outlier, and, you can go to all these different sites where they show you all the stats, right? You see run defense and pass defense and red zone and third down and all that. And Ohio State is like number 1, 2, maybe 5 in the nation in almost all of them. Like, they are really, really good. And you can talk all you want about, Miami and the running back's good and Carson Beck and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Last week, what'd they put up? 10? And I know, I get it. There was some wind, which, that was definitely a factor. But I don't see Miami's offense having much success against an Ohio State defense. Now, that said, 9.5 is a pretty big number. Are they gonna be able to cover? Again, beat them by 10. Uh, I mean, sure, yeah, it could happen. I think if you like Ohio State, then I don't know, maybe you like the over. But I can see a world where, it's a 24-10 game, 27-10, something like that. And I say all that because I think the game goes under. Sharp money came in hard. I think the total opened at 43, 43 and a half. It's down. Actually under 41, I think, at most sports books now. So I've leaned towards the under. I've leaned towards Ohio State to cover. However, really the one bet that I think I'll make probably right now after we get off of here is this. And maybe you laugh and think, oh, gee, here we go again. But I like kickers. So
You love kickers.
well, here's an interesting take on this one, and it's not a specific kicker, but it's field goals. So think about the two defenses, right? What happens when you have really good defense? Well, both teams are decent offensively. I think Ohio State's a little bit better offensively, but they move the football, but good defenses are able to shut guys down in the red zone. So what ends up happening is you end up kicking some field goals. So here's an interesting take on this game. I like it right now, and I think I'm going to get there and bet it as soon as we're done here. But the first half total field goals over 1.5. So 2 field goals in the first half by either team. They both kick one of them kicks 2, whatever. Carter Davis is the kicker for Miami. 4 of the last 6 games, he's kicked multiple field goals. And in those 4 games, one of the field goals, at least one, came in the first half. And then Ohio State, in 4 of their last 5 games, they've held an opponent, more than one opponent, but they've held them in the first half to force them to kick a field goal. 4 out of 5 games, the opponent made one. So I think you can only find it at DraftKings. And, I mentioned DraftKings on here a lot. I don't, maybe I should get a kickback from them, but I don't. But you can find that it's minus 105.
That one for 20%.
Yeah, I know. I should be getting a kickback, but minus 105 at DraftKings, over 1.5 field goals in the first half. I think it's a great look just because of the narrative of the game. I think the two defenses, rise up. You'll probably see the offenses move the ball some, but I think you see some red zone stops and you see a couple field goals in the first half.
Yeah, you mentioned these two defenses. I think we're kind of aligned on that same direction, especially. And I think that this game early on is going to be what I called when you got 2 dogs, the sniff and butt stage. Each team's trying to figure each other out. They come back in halftime, and then they have some adjustments. Maybe you see a little bit of scoring. I mean, we've seen it like in a lot of bowls in this situation, but especially when you're dealing with 2 defenses like this. Even though Miami did pull off that win last week versus A&M, this is just a good talking point in this one. They only put up 278 yards in total offense. Granted, yes, the wind did have a factor in the passing game. They had to, do a little bit more running in that game, but they were outgained by 48 yards. Did get the win. But Miami faced that was the 22nd ranked defense in A&M that day, and they only put up 10 points. You're getting a step up in class when you're dealing with Ohio State. They have not seen a defense of this caliber. This team is ranked number 1 in opposing scoring, opposing yards per game, opposing yards per play. They're 4th in QB sack percentage, and I think they're in the top 5, maybe top 10 or something like that in red zone scoring percentage to opponents. And what I mean by that is teams that score touchdowns, not teams that score field goals. And that's what makes Coach Rick's prop pretty enticing as well, because they're going to settle for points in the red zone against Ohio State, because Ohio State's defense just puts the clamps down when you get close to scoring range. But Miami has allowed only 17 points or less in 5 straight games as well. So, I mean, there are no slouches in the situation. Plus, you're dealing with a young quarterback in Julian Sayin. This is kind of his first, huge, spotlight-esque game. Of course, you could say that was the Michigan game. You could say, yeah, that might have been the Big Ten championship. Well, I didn't think he played very well in the Big Ten championship. They scored 10 points in that game. Granted, this was kind of a pseudo look ahead. That was their first loss of the year. So they may be a little bit hungry to get the W on this one. Also, with Ohio State, this is the second lowest total of the year for them going into this game. Under is 4-1 in their last 5 games, and under is 5-0 when Ohio State is a favorite of 15 points or less. they get unders, and it's because their defense just clamps down in these heavy favorite situations. Also, got to keep note, Ohio State is 5-1 ATS as a favorite of 20 points or less this season. Their only non-cover was against Indiana, who's, last time I checked, the number one team in the country right now. And everybody goes, well, you always have to fade these teams. Like we saw in the college football playoff last year. We need to fade these teams that had that extra rest, that were those bye teams. Keep in mind, the rankings were a lot different back then. They went a lot more with conference champions than they did with actual strength rankings, which they did in this situation here. So keep that in mind when you're looking at some of these dogs in this spot here. I do lean towards the Ohio State side. It is a big number, but the total is where I want to get to. And I think the way to get to it is under first half. That's the way I want to play this one. Miami, Ohio State under first half. I think the two defenses come out there flourishes with their ears peeled back. The Cotton Bowl has that fast track in Arlington, Texas. I think the defenses will flourish there early, give the quarterbacks some fits. And if you put pressure on Carson Beck, we know what he does. He turns over the ball or he has incomplete passes. He doesn't throw too many picks, but he does get rid of the ball and doesn't get the ball production that you're looking for. So if that's the case, that's going to be low scoring. I like the under first half, 20.5. All right, next game on the board here. We're going to be going with a little Oregon, Texas Tech at the Orange Bowl. And this is going to be a Thursday game right off at noon kick East in Miami, Florida. Get the grass going in this game, and you have this Oregon team coming off a nice win versus JMU. They're hungry. This is a team with a chip on their shoulder from what happened to them last year, going to the Rose Bowl and getting their ass kicked by Ohio State. They may have something going here, and you have a Texas Tech team that is just a built off oil money, and they've been playing very well. Statistically, they look very great, but the questions are, have they really played anybody? We'll have to see, and if this is a good barometer for them going into this game. Man, oh man, I have notes, I have thoughts, Coach. But what do you think about this one, Oregon, Texas Tech?
This is the game you want to watch out of all of them. This is the one you want to see. It's just a great matchup. I'll throw this out there, and you take it for what it's worth. But this is why, you tune into this show. Because throw all that other shit out the window. Well, they didn't play anybody or whatever. This is about this matchup on what is it, Thursday? I think, yeah, Thursday. I get my days mixed up because it's the holidays. But it's Thursday at noon. Oregon plays Texas Tech. That's all that matters. So you can talk about, Oregon, and I bring this up because I put something up somewhere and somebody put a comment on there and said, Oregon went 12-1. Their only loss was to Indiana, the number one team in the country. And Texas Tech won 12 games, but they lost to Arizona State. So I'm taking Oregon. Okay. That's great logic. If you're, I don't know, I'm not going to say it. But anyway, I'll be nice. But Texas Tech, I about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I put a bet on Texas Tech to win the national championship just because they're good. They're a complete team. Could Oregon win the title? Yeah, absolutely. But Texas Tech, they've won 12 football games. Yep, they stumbled and won, right? But they won 12 football games and they won them. And good teams win those games, but great teams cover. And they covered all of them, and they didn't just cover, they covered by 20 or more points. It's freaking ridiculous. You mentioned build off of oil money. Yeah, that guy, David, whatever the heck his name is, he put a ton of money into this. They bought a roster because you can. That's within the rules, right? So he went out and he bought, some guys. So he's got Jacob Rodriguez is outstanding. If you don't know anything about defense, just watch Texas Tech and watch Jacob Rodriguez play football. He's phenomenal. That's why he won a bunch of awards at the end of the season. It's why Texas Tech's number 3 in the country in scoring defense. They give up 10, 11 points a game. If you give up 10 or 11, you only got to score 12 or 13, and you win. Well, Texas Tech scores 42.5 points a game. This is a complete football team. So, then you got to go over and look at Oregon. Well, God, Dante Moore, which, I brought it up before, coached against him way back in, he was a freshman, sophomore. I thought he was great then, and he's improved by leaps and bounds. 28 touchdowns, like 72% completion rate. I saw a thing today where he leads the nation in like throws, like completion percentage on throws of 20 plus. Like he throws the ball down the field and he completes them, right? He makes stuff happen with his feet. And I bring all this up to say, hey, you have to look at the matchup. Like, what's the big difference in this game? So for Oregon, everything starts really. It's not Dante Moore. It's the run. It starts with the run. They average 217 rushing yards a game. I think, and we've got more than one back that can beat you, and those guys are fast. But on the other side, for Texas Tech, we talked about, well, they score 42 points a game. Oregon scores 39. Texas Tech, it starts with the run with them too. So, Cameron Dickey, 14 touchdowns. And the other kid, Jacoby Williams, like if he touches the ball, there's a good chance that he's going to gain double-digit yards. He has 16 runs of 20 or more yards. That's, he's got 350 some yards on 16 carries. So these two teams are explosive. I think the difference comes down to this. I think it's the defense that's better in certain situations. And one of them, when teams get in the red zone, they rank 122nd. That means teams score touchdowns quite a bit when they get in the red zone against this team. And on third down, they have some issues getting off the field. And that defense is Oregon. So for me, right now, I'm on Texas Tech. I like the dog. Texas Tech plus 2.5. That's where I'm at right now. We'll see if I get there by Thursday.
Yeah, this was a tough game to cap. I mean, I looked at both sides of this one, and statistically, yes, for the defensive side, you have to give the edge to Texas Tech this year. They're second in opposing scoring. They're in opposing yards per game, opposing yards per play. They're just below Ohio State as far as their defense is concerned. One of the things I noticed, though, if you can get the scoring range with them, they do give up a few touchdowns here and there. They're only 40th in opposing red zone percentage, but I think it's the fact that it's rare if you can get to the red zone in a lot of those cases. So the percentage could be a little bit high and skewed on that one. But Oregon doesn't have a bad defense either. They have a top 10 defense. They're 9th in opposing scoring, 5th in opposing yards per game, 10th in opposing yards per play. That defense is no slouch. Dan Lanning is a Georgia defensive coordinator, at least a former one. I mean, that's his bread and butter. So, I mean, don't get it twisted of what he can do defensively as well. And offensively, I would say these two teams relatively statistically close. You have 9th in scoring. That's 38 points per game for Oregon. They're 8th in yards per game, 5th in yards per play, 68th in red zone percentage. And Texas Tech is 3rd in scoring, averaging 40 points per game, 9th in yards per game. They're 30th in yards per play, and they're 44th in red zone scoring percentage. And you brought up that loss to Arizona State. That just stuck in my head. Keep in mind, Baron Morton, starting quarterback, did not play in that game. They played a true freshman for his first start of his life in that game, and that's what caused the loss for the most part. Their offense kind of took a step back. Baron Morton did not play. He's playing in this game. Texas defense, the one thing you have to see here, and this is why I call it the barometer game of how good is this Texas Tech team. They have not seen an offense this good this year. I went back and looked at all the teams that they played this year, and they have not faced a top 20 offense yet this year. And in a lot of rankings, and I looked at a bunch of them, Oregon's ranked number 1 offensively as far as production, as far as just overall statistical analytics. They're one of the number 1. They're at least top 5. So this is going to be a tell test, and it starts with the run. That's how that team gets a lot of their production, and then they can get you on the deep stuff in the big game. But I want to see the talent of this Oregon team and the speed of this Oregon team go against this speedy, talented, best money can buy Texas Tech defense. I mean, that's going to be something to watch. And then you got to look at the scheduling factor. Oregon faced the 16th toughest schedule in the country, and you have Texas Tech that faced the 71st toughest schedule in the country. So, and you could even say maybe this Texas Tech team took too long of a rest. You got 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, 4 weeks off. Yeah, it was like, when's the last time they played? The Big 12 championship. They're coming off the highs of highs, winning that game. and now you got to go and you get this 3-week, 4-week layoff, and then you're playing a team that just played last week, maybe like 2 weeks ago. So that is going to have a factor in a lot of these games that we're going to be watching this weekend or the next 2 days, I should say. I'm screwed up by the holiday. I thought today was Wednesday today multiple times, but I digress. I just think this is going to be a good game regardless. I'm leaning towards the Oregon side though, just because I've seen Oregon in the playoffs. I know they're capable of making a run. This is a team that has that chip on their shoulder from what happened to them last year. I know there's some players on that roster that really want to come up and step out in this game. And Texas Tech, I just don't know if the players that are on that roster right now are just going to be tested enough. But Dan Lanning in the spotlight, I've seen him eat shit too. So I'm not there yet. I'm trying to figure it out one way or another. I think it's going to be a split decision of handicappers that are going to be on one side or the other, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens, and I'll have some sort of play in this game. Don't know if I'm going to be on the side, but I'm leaning slightly to the Oregon side. All right, let's go to the next game on the board. Let's go Alabama versus Indiana. Signetti, I win. Google me. By God, does he? He's undefeated this year. He's coming off the Big Ten championship win, and of course, this Alabama team went down 17-0 early in Norman against Oklahoma, and it didn't matter. They won the game 34-24. Good defenses and just absolutely just manhandling this Oklahoma team. But I do read the box scores. I do see stats, and I'll talk about those in a second. But before they do that, Coach Rick, what do you like, Alabama or Indiana?
I mean, I can't go against my guy, man. You know, and I think the one time I did, you know, it didn't work out, right? So obviously, you know, everybody knows by now. You know, I played for Coach Signetti's dad. I remember when Kurt got hired by Nick Saban at Alabama in 2007. And he worked there for 5 or 6 years before he went back to my alma mater, IUP, where his dad coached, and took that head coaching job. And if you ever listen to him talk or, you know, watch any reels or anything, he's discussed that, you know, and he was at a point in his life where he said, hey, if I don't go and become a head coach now, like, I'm probably never going to do it. I'm going to be a lifelong assistant. So he took a pretty hefty pay cut and went back to Indiana, Pennsylvania, and that's where his head coaching career began. And, you know, it's been a meteoric rise. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, people were sitting here in August saying, well, Indiana can't do this again. No way, right? And then, you know, 3 to 4 weeks into season, you know, you and I were probably talking about, you know, how we thought Indiana was better than they were last year. And this is a damn good football team. I think the difference here is one position group, and that is the Indiana offensive line. They are big, they are physical, and the reason why Indiana wins games is that they can pound you physically, really on both sides of the ball. Their defensive line's pretty damn good too. But up front, I mean, they're 10th in the country in rushing, and that's where it starts. Like, again, you know, you see all these, you know, Fernando Mendoza won a Heisman, and, you know, he throws for all these yards, and same with Dante Moore and, you know, all these other quarterbacks, even Simpson on the other side. We'll get to him in a minute. But, you know, these offenses start with running the ball. These elite teams, like, they run the football. So Indiana runs the ball for over 221 yards a game. They finish drives. You know, there's a metric for finishing drives. I'm not sure exactly where they're at, but they score 42 points a game. So that tells you something. They finish drives, right? And Alabama is a great defense. You know, are they as good as Indiana? No, they're not. I don't think so. Indiana leads the country in a number of categories, but the biggest one is havoc. And if you don't know what that is, it's not a big deal. But just think of what havoc is. Well, it's, you know, crazy chaos, right? So think about things like tackles for loss and sacks and turnovers. And, you know, Indiana ranks second in the country just in tackles for loss. I think they're fourth in sacks too. So they create a lot of trouble for opposing offenses. So the reason they beat Ohio State, is because they got after Julian Sayin. And Julian Sayin played okay. Like I think he completed 21 or 22 out of 29, something like that. But they sacked him 3 times. He threw a pick, so they put enough pressure on you just to kind of take you out of your game. So I would expect them to do that to Simpson for Alabama, he's a quality quarterback. But, I don't care who you are. If you put pressure on him, sorry. The only guy that I think I can say if you put pressure on him, you're probably not going to rattle him that as much is the guy playing QB for Indiana, and that's Mendoza. So I looked up. He excels against cover 2. If you want to play 1 high, great. Play cover 3. Play 1. I don't. If you want to play cover 1 against these guys, like he's going to throw the ball to that Surratt kid all night. And then if you try to blitz him, go ahead. He had a stretch this season. Mendoza had a stretch. I don't know how many games it was, but he completed 65% of his passes, over 1,500 yards, and threw 0 picks against the blitz. That's just against the blitz. That's when you bring at least 5 defenders to rush the quarterback. So you want to come at him? Fine. He'll find a way to beat you. So, yeah, I mean, you can tell where I'm going. Like it's Indiana, and I've seen -6.5. I think it was -7 for a while. So I've seen 6.5, and I grabbed one of those. I like that. If you look, you can look trends again, which like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It's all about the matchup. But Indiana, when they are favored by 6.5 or less, they're 4-0 this season. So they cover these types of games. I'll mention two other things. I'll let you get at it. Is the receiver I mentioned, Elijah Surratt. The kid. I mean, I'm going to take a look. I didn't look yet, but I want to look at his anytime touchdown just because he has 12 TDs and he scored at least 1 in 7 straight games. So it's highly likely that if Mendoza throws a touchdown pass, it's probably to him. And then I'm not there yet, but I'm toying with the idea of Indiana's team total. We'll see if I can get there on that. But for now, Indiana -6.5.
Yeah, that team total. I've been looking at the same thing. It's like I'm trying to figure out what combo. This is a combo game. I mean, if I'm going to do this with a VIP, this is going to be not one bet. This is going to be multiple type of angles that are going to kind of outline what I believe the outcome of this game is going to be. I mean, you have a sample size of Bama in the last 4 games. I mean, you've seen this team not play very good offense. I mean, they put up 260 yards of total offense, 28 rushing yards, and were outgained 102 yards against Oklahoma, and still got the victory, 34-24. Of course, they had an INT for a touchdown, a ridiculous throw. That was just I don't know why that throw was made. It was just like John Mateer just wanted to give the game up. I don't know what happened in that, but they just implosion when they had full control of the game. But Indiana doesn't make these mistakes, and Mendoza doesn't make these mistakes. This is why he's the Heisman. And also keep in mind that this Bama team has been held under 300 yards of total offense in 3 straight games. This is a team that they got held under by Georgia, they got held under by Auburn of all teams, and now they got held under by 300 yards of total offense against Oklahoma. But you got an Indiana team that you can look at both sides of the ball. They're just absolutely dominant. This team is 4th in scoring on the offensive side, 12th in yards per game, 6th in yards per play. On the defensive side, they're 3rd in opposing scoring. They're 3rd in opposing yards per game. They're 14th in opposing yards per play. And then you got to look at the line on this one, the line function. I mean, out of all the teams that Alabama has played, every team in the SEC, we're talking about the Georgias twice. We're talking about anybody that they've gone against where they've been in a dog situation. This is the largest line that they have been a dog all season long. Tells you everything how the books respect this Indiana team by far. And then also the under is kind of a look there when you look at Indiana when the total is under 50. They're 3-1 to the under in those situations. And Bama is on a little bit of an under streak as well. They're 5-1 to the under in their last 6 games and 2-1 to the under as a dog this year. So the unders kind of correlate here in some way, shape, or form, but I just think this is going to be some lopsided game that is not going to be exciting here at the Rose Bowl. And Indiana just shows who the hell they are, and Cignetti's going to get it done. I love this place so much. I think Indiana just absolutely stomps Kalen DeBoer in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena at 4 p.m. on Thursday. So give me Indiana -7 or 6.5. If you're having 6.5, I'm going to take that one as well.
Yeah.
I'll take it at 8. I'll take it at 10. I'll take it at whatever. I like this Indiana team so much. All right, next game on the board. I think this is going to be a good game too. Hopefully, this Ole Miss in Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana. 8 p.m. is going to be the kick on this one, and I do believe that this Georgia team played in a similar situation against Notre Dame last year. If I'm not mistaken, I think they played in the Sugar Bowl. Yes, I believe that's correct. So there's a revisionist history here from this Georgia team that probably they want to get back and get right in this situation, going against an Ole Miss team that they're familiar with because they played earlier in October. This is going to be a great game with two SEC teams, Coach. What do you think about this one? Ole Miss versus the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, I'll lead into this with this is why the college football playoff is just it's not right. So, a couple weeks ago I put up a thing and I kind of just did a little rant for about 15 minutes on what's wrong with the college football playoff, how do you fix it, blah blah blah. But these two teams already played. Georgia already beat them, so why are they playing again? That's my thing. I get it, I understand. But if you keep expanding the playoff, then this is the kind of shit you're going to get. And am I still going to watch? Yep. Am I going to love it? Absolutely. It's awesome. I love college football. You want to play all year? I don't give a shit. I'm still going to watch, right? But anyway, this game again about the matchup. They played back in October. Georgia won that game 43-35. If you dig into some of the stats, Georgia's offense had 510 yards total. Absolute dick stomping of Ole Miss's defense, which Ole Miss, they had some issues early, but it's really, they're really not that bad of a defense. I think they've turned around to where they give up less than 20 points a game. But Georgia had their way with them in that game. Ole Miss, on the other hand, but they had 351 yards of offense in that game. And the interesting thing, and I guess the reason why, if you look into that, Georgia had the football for 37 minutes and 39 seconds. So, you're controlling the ball for almost 40 minutes. That means Ole Miss had the ball 20, 21 minutes. That's it. That's why they only had 351 yards. But they still ended up with 35 points, which, that tells you something, right? And I bring that up because, I think you see something similar. The total opened, I believe, at 56.5. I think it did tick down one. So I would lean toward Georgia, at -6.5. I think the last game was, they were favored by 7.5. I think I'd lean toward Georgia. I'm not anywhere on this game yet because I want to see if the total moves again. Because if you recall, when we talked about this game in October, the bet that I told you about was both teams to score either 25 plus or 30 plus.
That's right.
So this is a case again where Georgia does give up some points. Ole Miss, you can say all you want about, coaching changes and all that, but there's still some stability there with Golding taking over. Some of the offensive guys, it'll be the same. It's, not the exact same staff, but I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. So I think Ole Miss and Chambliss can still score. And I think Mike Bobo, Georgia's offensive coordinator, he takes more shit than probably anybody. I don't know. It's like there's Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, and then Ravens, or Tomlin even for Pittsburgh. These guys get shit on and they freaking win. They win. Bobo, they're scoring 32 points a game, 400 plus yards. People are talking about, we got to get rid of Mike Bobo. He's terrible. Whatever. The guy spent half his life in Georgia, but I think they can score on this Ole Miss defense. And right now, both teams to score 25 plus is sitting at plus 150. So I'm kind of leaning towards that right now. Like I said, I want to see what happens overnight, see if there's any more line movement.
From a statistical element, I kind of looked at this a little bit different. So, I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work out. I think we have revisionist history. because we have a box score that we can read that we saw what happened in the first matchup. You mentioned some of the key points on this one. How did Georgia win that game? I was like, they won it by controlling time of possession and not allowing that Ole Miss offense to get down the field. Keep in mind, now we're getting a little bit of a situational spot where, yes, you still have the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator for Ole Miss coaching in this game, but you're missing your head coach. He's not there. The line did not move from game 1 to game 2. If you go look at the line from the previous game, I think it was like 5.5, 6 or 6.5 or something like that, but Georgia was the home team. And then the total was right around 55, 56 anyways. Now you got it at a neutral field and it's the same line. So what are the books thinking? They're not changing the line at all for Ole Miss, and they're not giving any respect to the total, thinking they're going to get a bunch of over money. That's what I'm thinking. Just numerically speak on this one. And what I know about Georgia is the strength is their defense. They're 10th in opposing scoring. They're 11th in opposing yards per game. Their rush defense is elite. Their pass defense is where the problem lies. And I think that's why Ole Miss can take advantage and score on quick with that passing offense. But Ole Miss defense is not as strong as Georgia's, and that's another problem that they have. They stink against the run. They give up. They're 84th in opposing rush yards per carry. They're 70th in opposing rush yards per game, and they're 42nd in opposing pass yards per game. But it doesn't matter. Georgia wants to run the ball all day long against you and smash you in the mouth, and then just play good defense. That's kind of what they do. The strength of schedule is a little bit enticing if you want to go look at that. Georgia did face the 22nd toughest schedule and put up the numbers that they did. But Ole Miss faced the 54th toughest schedule in the country. They didn't face a lot of these, pseudo tough opponents that Georgia really had to do to get to the path of where they are in the college football playoff. These teams met in October. Georgia did put up 510 yards of total offense against them, outgained Ole Miss by 159 yards. And yes, the time of possession was still a problem. It's like you couldn't make a stop. They probably went for it and just went 3 to 4 downs per draw.
34 first downs.
That's it. It wasn't like big, huge chunk plays. It was just 3.3 yards or 4 yards per carry, and that's how you kind of beat the team up. But this is actually Georgia's kind of sweet spot this year. Do you know how many neutral site games that Georgia's played this year? This is their fourth one, and they played the SEC championship. They played Georgia Tech. I believe the first game of the season they played Florida at the world's largest cocktail party. Those are the neutral. And then, but the under is 3-0 in those spots every time they play on a neutral field, and they haven't given up more than 20 points to an opponent on a neutral field this year. Granted, those opponents were Georgia Tech, Florida, and Alabama. I guess Alabama is the one that's probably the good barometer there for Ole Miss, but I do believe Ole Miss has a better offense, of course. But I'm leaning towards this Georgia side on this one. I think Georgia just has something in them. They're so much stronger and so much better than they were last year. Keep in mind, that team went into and lost to Notre Dame, was so banged up. They lost so many people on the defensive side, the offensive side. Of course, they went with their freshman quarterback because Carson Beck couldn't play, and they had to get Stockton in there, and he wasn't ready to go against that elite Notre Dame defense. I think this is going to be a type of situation for them here. As far as the total goes, I'm trying to bounce around. Maybe it's a sniff and butt stage, a little bit of this first half under and then walk away. I haven't decided yet. I'm leaning towards Georgia, but I may be going somewhere with the under, or I'm not even going to take the total at all. But like Coach said, probably this one. I know this comes out on Wednesday morning. That's when I'm going to be looking at the line to see where the number's moving. And if it's moving in the direction I think it could be, which is the under, hopefully, we'll see. That's probably the direction I'm going to go on that one. All right. We just broke down the college football playoff quarterfinals. And if you are watching this and you aren't subscribed to the J.A. Cavalier channel, you might as well do so right now. There's a little subscribe button right up in the corner. You just hit that. Make sure you hit the like button on this video if you like the content here, and drop a comment. Even check us out on Instagram, @whylose_guns, @whylose_coach. And go hang out with us. We're dropping free pick videos there all the time. I'm going to drop a free pick video there for tomorrow for the college football playoff. And it's going to be the Wednesday night game. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So, Coach, what do you got going on your Telegram? What do you got going on for the VIPs? How you doing in college football over at Wyloo's?
College football is kicking it. Right now, the best value, I believe, for everyone is simply the All Sports Day Pass. It's $49. And, we guarantee that you will profit. Typically in a day, I mean, there's anywhere from 3 to 10 plays that I have on all the various sports. So if you profit, great. Then you come back the next day, another $49, and you're, putting money in your bankroll. And if you don't, if we don't show any profit for you, then we're going to give you a whole week for free because you're going to win. I mean, that's what we do, So I just put this up too, college basketball's back, and, that's coming up next. That's the next big thing, right? So I put up a thing today. I have just a separate college basketball day pass too. If you just like that, that's fine. Take that. Same thing. Must profit, or you get a week free. I think so far for the entire season, I think I'm 64%, and then for the month of December, close to 70. So, and you know what? If you only want the free picks so far this season are 33-13. So, whatever you do, like just follow us all. Like the guy I get to do this show with, like if you want college football picks, like he's the guy, man. I'm telling you, like the guy wins, and we all do. And some of us just win more. Right now, he's winning more. So that's why you follow us. That's why that's why you tune in. That's that's what we're all about. We're here for the people.
That's right. Yeah, I'm just putting my foot on the gas pedal. That's what I'm doing. I got the data, I got the stats, and I was like, these are just hammer spots. You just got to hammer, and you just got to. Sometimes you got to unload the clip. No pun intended, as a gunspix, but that's what we got to do sometimes. And we're doing it. We're doing it successful. I think I'm 3-1 on the max bets in college football right now, and I haven't dropped one in a while. But I guarantee you bet your sweet booty cheeks I'm dropping one tomorrow. I might be dropping 2 tomorrow. There's 2 plays I love tomorrow, and we haven't even talked about it on the show.
No,
and we're talking. No. So if you want to go check that out, I do have a day pass, $49. And I always what I do with the college football ones, if the max spec doesn't hit, you get my season for free. I know there's not a lot left in the season, of course, but there's still a couple days of like games. And I write up every single game, and I have a take on every single play. So it's worth the investment. And then if I don't hit the max bet, guess what? You get a little bit of a value on this one, and then you can follow me along for the rest of the year, all the way through the national championship. By the way, so I always put that backing on there, and I do have all sports as well. Got college basketball up and running again. 3 days of profit, 4 days of profit in a row. Don't know about today. I gave my card out for free just to test it out to the people. I haven't even looked to see what the scores are, so I'll find out later today. On some of those. I think I was like 1-2. No, I was 1-1, and then there's a bunch of games in play. So we'll see what's going on with that. But yeah, that's going to be the next sport that we're going to be hammering on. And you're following the 2 college gurus themselves here. The college football and the college basketball guru are right here at Why Lose. And you can go check us out. We'll be doing some college basketball content later down the road. But that's going to do it here for the quarterfinals edition, college football playoff. We'll be back. We'll do a little semifinal video for you guys, and probably do a national championship video for you guys, just to finish it off and bookend it. And then we can go jump into a little conference play in January with college basketball. Can't wait to do it with you guys. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the J Cavalier channel, and make sure you check us both out on Instagram. And if you don't know where the links are, Bernsey puts them down below in the comment section. So you can go click on that and follow along. But that's going to do it here for Player Performance. I am Gunspick. That is Coach Rick. Let's cash some tickets. Let's dominate the board. And as always, Coach,
giddy up.
And let's keep dancing.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my